There are different types of authority. For the moment, I want to consider two: moral authority and legal authority. And when we look at Truss, Quateng, Rees-Mogg, Braverman, it's very difficult to see that these people command moral authority, can wield moral authority. It's very, very difficult. We sort of shrug. At the moment, we're making a legal case, or there is a legal case being made in the Supreme Court for the union with Scotland. I think this is quite important. It's a major constitutional question. And Sir James Eadie has put forward not much of a case. He's put forward the case that on a technical argument, this is not a reasonable or a valid question. Why? Because it's a draft law rather than a real law that's being considered. So why should the Supreme Court consider an idea rather than a formal law? Well, because ideas make the world. And it's ideas which are at stake here in Westminster particularly. It's ideas and a lack of ideas which demonstrate that we have entered a sort of cultural and moral vacuum. And would somebody elect to be part of this union ruled by this particular government in Westminster? I think, given an opportunity, very few countries, very few people would want to be part of this system, of our system, ruled by Liz Truss, controlled, governed by Liz Truss. Ruled by the king, that would be fine. But governed by this person who can barely string a sentence together, who is both unclear and clear, both are sounding gongs signifying nothing. Sir James Eadie has put forward, as I say, technical arguments that the Supreme Court has nothing to discuss because there is no Scottish law to rule on. This is a circular argument. It's better to have made this argument, for James Eadie to have made this argument in a philosophy lesson, not in the Supreme Court. And even if the Supreme Court were to rule against this law, this hypothetical law, it simply pushes the moral argument to present this law to the people at the next election. It plays entirely into the independence agendum. And Dorothy Bain, I'm not quite sure what Dorothy Bain is trying to do. So there is a draft law. That should be enough to consider. There's a draft law, and we shouldn't dismiss something simply because it's not in the format that we want. We are wise enough, surely, in this country, in this union, to know what something is, something that is intended is of consequence. We shouldn't dismiss something because it's not in the right form. These days have gone. The days when the right form is to wear a particular costume have gone, surely. Have they not? And, if we're going to be left, in a vacuum created by technicalities, by vacuous individuals, this is the breeding ground for a venomous canker, and that in itself must be resisted and must be questioned. I have thought seriously in the last few weeks about whether I want to continue living in this country. I probably shall, because I really don't like change. But if I had a choice, I wouldn't want to be anywhere governed by this bunch of loonies. And I can't in all conscience expect Scotland's Independence Party to be persuaded that Liz Truss is a good thing when she clearly is not?